How are you doing? Welcome to Dumfries TV. It's Wednesday the 19th of August and it's 11 o'clock. You're watching Dumfries TV. Coming up in today's show, we've got Tourist Tam. He's going to be taking us in the dog park, showing us where there used to be a washhouse. Nadia and Natalie are presenting Dumfries News all the way back to 1958. We've got young Killian, who's going to be pretending to be a mini Elvis. And Jay Ali reaches out to somebody who moved to Canada and migrated in his show Discover Dumfries. We visit a hero in Dumfries, it's Edna Wells. She'll be telling us about 1958. Zoe's going to be teaching us the bunny hop and dancing, and Diane and Jock the Sock are going to be cooking up a storm with some sausages. In Grubtown, Jordan Chisholm's taking us down the Venel and Memory Lane, and then Graham Main's going to be picking 5 top tracks of 1958 which you can vote for. And finally, Katie will be showing us all the fashions from 1958. Sit back, guys, and welcome to Dumfries TV. It's Tourist Tam.
Alright my wee muckers, welcome to Dumfries TV. See, me and all my wee pals, we've made a good programme of juicy stories all about Dumfries. What do you think? Dumfries. I love that one. I love this place. 3 things you might want to ken about me. 1, I'm pure daft about fitness, me and this wee beauty, which I picked up off Paddy the Gun for a very reasonable price. Can clock up to 45 miles a day. Tell you what boy, I hope you're not one of these wee dafties that sits inside and plays COD all day. Get on your bike, get outside! 2, I was a bit of a bad boy, but I'm still here to tell the tale, which doesn't mean I'm a grass by the way. And 3, I'm pure mad, guilty as charged. But I tell you what, so's the rest of Dumfries, and that's what I love about it. You get all sorts of mad cats up the high street, around these parts. There used to be all sorts of cool characters. And some big dodgy ones too, like. Some of them, they just got sent straight to the jail. Or they ended up in some other gruesome end. Most of them, they're sort of forgotten. That's quite sad. But see, to me, doesn't matter what you've done. If you're from around these parts, well, that's alright with me. Me, I'm Tourist Tam. It's my job to take us back in time to appreciate the good in all of us. See this place? It's quite different back then, boy. Busy wee market town. 10 years after World War II, I think that we might have appreciated each other a wee bit more back then.
Here, Tam, you owe me a £5!
A £5? You owe me a tenner! Zip it! Aye, we definitely did. Take this place for example. When Adolf Hitler boy ran the Norwegians out of Norway, this was their barracks during World War II. Did you ken that? Take this building for example. Look at it now. Doesn't look like much, does it? That bit used to be notorious. The Plaza Dance Hall. My sister was never allowed in, but I was because I sneaked out. That's where I learned to dance the jailhouse rock. Worlds were discovered there. Listen to the past. Skiffle sounds, beats. Listen to the clues. Listen to our hearts and stop and think. What is going on with this wee tune? And when are we going to stop blaming people for how duff it is, Ken? But I tell you what, I think that might be our job. It was good once, boy. It can be good again. See this here? Grocers. Watts Grocers. You could get anything you wanted in there. And everybody in the town went there. There was none of this going out the town to get what you needed. I tell you again, different days, boy. Different days. Oh, aye. Would you believe it? This shop there one of 3 cinemas in Dumfries. That there was a Lyceum. They used to change their pictures 3 times a week. Aye, you heard me right. So if you didn't like what you saw there, you could nip down to the one on English Street. That was the Regal. Or if you really wanted to, you could go into what we call the Bughouse. That was on Shakespeare Street. Though you're not really meant to call it the Bughouse, so you didn't hear it from me, boy. See this place here? This was one of the settings of one of the 2 great washhouses of Dumfries. There used to be one up at St Michael's as well. And get this, you could hang your boxers or your pants up here for about 8 hours. Come back, they'd be dry and they wouldn't be nicked. Different days though, eh boy? Different days. See this Dumfries TV thing? I'm not trying to teach you how to suck eggs, Ken. But watch and learn. And when you finish watching, send us your thoughts, your stories. Tell me about the characters that you imagine here. Because Ken, why? We're making a story. And it's called Our Toon. You know which ones I'm talking about. This is Our Toon.
Good morning. This is Dumfries News at 11 AM, coming live from the television centre on the High Street. Our headlines this morning. 8 Manchester United footballers die in the Munich air disaster. The reactor at Dumfries achieves criticality, meaning homes in Scotland can now be powered through nuclear energy for the first time. The Prime Minister, Harold Macmillan, is in hot water over an alleged cover-up of a plutonium incident at Wednesdale. Woolworths have said they cannot keep up with stocks of the latest craze sweeping the nation. The hula hoop. Her Majesty the Queen makes a landmark call from Bristol to Edinburgh as long-distance trunch calls signal technological advances in the communications industry. Forth Road Bridge construction began today in Queensferry, due to be completed in 1964. Race riots broke out in Notting Hill earlier today amidst tensions between citizens from Commonwealth countries. 2 new programmes on the BBC have been launched this week as part of an effort to make programmes that appeal to both children and sports fans. In Dumfries, a new chapel is opened in Maxwelltown following works which include a new dual carriageway on Glasgow Street. Good morning, I'm Nadia Ali and this is Natalie Dodge with Dumfries News on the 19th of August 1958. Our top story today is, of course, the Munich air disaster, in which 23 people, including 8 Manchester United footballers, died. Remarkably, some players made it back to full health, but Man United didn't win the league. The reactor at Dumfries has achieved criticality, meaning homes in Scotland can now be powered through nuclear energy. It comes in the wake of some resistance from nuclear testing earlier in the year, when a campaign called CND was created. It is believed that nuclear testing could eventually outperform coal as Scotland's #1 energy source. The Prime Minister, Harold Macmillan, apologises over the cover-up of a plutonium incident at Wednesdale. Speaking from Downing Street today, Mr Macmillan says that the reason he tried to cover up the incident was to convince the US government that Britain could be a strong transatlantic ally. Mr Macmillan says that it is important that the United States sees Britain as a contender in the arms race. The Woolworths shop on the High Street has said that the branch cannot keep up with stocks of the latest toy craze sweeping the country, the hula hoop. Thousands of youngsters across the town can be seen out in the streets rotating their hips to the thin plastic tube which can be spun around the neck, hips or limbs. The invention, which has made its way from the United States, is the brainchild of the same inventor who also created the space hopper. A spokesperson for Woolworths said, "This isn't a new toy at all. In fact, children have been spinning tubes for more than 40 years. What is new is that it's made from plastic, and is made from colourful plastic." Her Majesty the Queen makes a landmark call from Bristol to Edinburgh as long-distance trunch calls signal better efficiencies in the telecommunications industry. This will increase productivity and means you will be able to call a number directly without speaking to an operator. The new STD code will be applied at the start of the number. The STD for Dumfries will be 387. A row is thought to have broken out at the wash house on the Green Sands earlier this morning. Mrs. Shona Brown is thought to have taken umbrage at Mrs. Janet Smith's accusations that her sheets were less than white. Mr. Mackay, the cleaner for the washhouse, had to stop the fight erupting. No one at the washroom board was able to make a comment, and washes continued into the afternoon as normal.
Potato picking season is coming up, and schools will be off for the full 2 weeks to accommodate the potato pickers. The Labour Exchange has stressed that tatty picking is a form of work and it is against the law to sign on at the same time.
Forth Road Bridge construction began today in Queensferry. The project will take 6 years to complete and will be opened by Her Majesty the Queen in 1964. The road will stretch for 1.5 miles.
Race riots broke out in Notting Hill earlier today. It started with a minor domestic dispute between a black man and his white wife. Mabrit Morrison, a young Swedish woman, was arguing outside Latimer Road tube station with her Jamaican husband Raymond. A white crowd materialised to defend Mabrit, who didn't want to be defended, and a scuffle broke out between them and some of Raymond's West Indian friends. By the following evening, a 200-strong mob were rampaging through the streets of Notting Hill armed with weapons, including sticks and butcher's knives, and shouting. Residents of Notting Hill say they will organise a carnival next year with West Indian culture to help build cohesion across the community.
2 new programmes on the BBC have been launched this week as part of an effort to make programmes that appeal to both children and sports fans. The first show has been created for children after they finish school and is called Blue Peter. The second is a new show which will be broadcast on a Saturday for sports fans called Grandstand. This will be broadcast after the work whistle at 1 p.m. each Saturday and will include both the English and Scottish divisions.
A new fire station was opened in Dumfries on Brims Road, which will replace the fire station on George Street. The new fire station has been built on the land which was cleared as part of the slum clearances. A spokesman for the Dumfries and Galloway Fire Service says that the recent clearance had given them an opportunity to expand their base in Dumfries with new training towers erected, although the new fire station is actually built on the former donkey field.
Worshippers will be able to attend the chapel at St Teresa's, which is opened on Glasgow Street, for the community of Maxwelltown. As well as a chapel, the new part of Dumfries includes a dual carriageway, as town planners predict a population boom in the Maxwelltown area.
New houses have also been built in the Maxwelltown area in the northern part of Dumfries. A spokesman for Dumfries Town Council says that next year a new school will open, housing up to 400 pupils. The new estate is situated next to Lincluden and is to be called Lochside. A new church is going to be opened in the same area so that the community can find moral guidance. Dumfries Council has also suggested that the aerodrome, which until last year was the base of RAF Dumfries, could become a similar housing or industrial estate for workers at the rubber works. A new resident in Lochside said, "They built the houses and forgot to build a school. It doesn't open until next year, so ma Waynes have got to catch the bus from the bottom of Glasgow Road and go to Lorry now. The houses are lovely, but there is nothing today. We were better off on the high street. Clowns."
In the charts this week, the Everly Brothers remain at the #1 slot with All I Have to Do Is Dream. Elvis Presley is top of the US charts with Jailhouse Rock. Churchgoers in the UK have criticised the popularity of the American artist, stating that his gyrating hips leave nothing for moral values. Meanwhile, in the UK, Cliff Richard's debut single Move It is released, reaching 2 in the charts. It is credited with being one of the first authentic rock and roll songs produced outside the United States. The most popular song of the year was Magic Moments by Perry Como, which spent 8 weeks at the top of the UK charts.
Teenagers continue to flock to Tony's Cafe and its jukebox has been proving very popular. Tony's most popular ice cream is still the Knickerbocker Glory. Rumours emerged today that there may be a Wimpy on the high street or close to Burn statue in the near future.
Ambrosia rice pudding has become very popular, and Watts grocers on the high street can confirm they will now be stocking the much sought after tin dessert. Watts have confirmed that salt and shake crisps are back in stock, but the small blue packets will remain. The fruit market on Munchie Street said they will continue stocking fruit and veg only, although they will be stocking ginger wine in the run-up to Christmas for households who place orders in advance.
Parents have been reminded that bins will be stocking school uniforms again as usual, but that school books are only available at Blackwell's.
Film lovers. The Regal on English Street will be showing The Revenge of Frankenstein and will be running Tom Thumb for its Miners Matinee for school children, whilst the Lyceum will be showing Jailhouse Rock for the 5th week running.
The Plaza, the Drill, Assembly Rooms and the Jungle will all open this weekend for dances. The Plaza have said that patrons continuing to jive will be asked to be considerate of fellow dancers, as young people have been seen doing the skiffle.
And finally, the 1958-59 Scottish Division 1 was won by Rangers by 2 points over nearest rival Hearts. Falkirk and Queen of the South finished 17th and 18th respectively and were relegated to the 1959-60 Scottish Division 2.
And now for this year's weather. It's going to be one of the wettest years on record, and the Sands is going to flood at least 3 times.
And now on Dumfries TV, we present a special episode of The Youngins. This is Killian Nelson Syme, and he is impersonating Elvis Presley, who had a big hit at the time called Jailhouse Rock.
And I'm here for your new music video, Jailhouse Rock. King of rock and roll. Well, if I was the king of rock and roll, then I could be playing all day, rock and rolling to everyone else. Even you, Mummy. The wooden flew upon in the county jail. The prison band was down, they began to wail. Okay, the joint was jumping and the band began to swing. Shows of the knockout jailbird swing. Let's walk, everybody let's walk. Everybody in the wholesale block was dancing to Jailhouse Rock. Let's walk, everybody let's walk. Everybody in the wholesale block was dancing to Jailhouse Rock. Thank you very much.
My name is Jay Ali, and I grew up in Dumfries. Coming from a family whose parents were not from Dumfries and a diverse background, I am curious to know what makes a Doonhamer. Is it a title you're born with, a way of life, or something you adopt with time? I also want to learn more about the town I grew up in and what it was like for diverse people like myself growing up here. I'll be talking to 6 individuals to learn more and gain a better insight.
Hi everybody, welcome to Discovering Dumfries with me, Jay Ali, episode 1, and I'm really excited today because today I'm talking to a man called Fred Beattie who grew up in Dumfries in the 1950s and 1960s, and he now resides in Toronto, Canada. And I'm really intrigued to find out today what Dumfries was like in the 1960s, what sort of place it was it a vibrant, young, energetic town, and interestingly, and more for myself as well, to discover what kind of diversity there was in Dumfries and how welcoming Dumfries might have been to outsiders coming in. So I'm really excited today and to talk to Fred, and hopefully I can get all these questions answered.
From my own curiosity, I suppose, I come from a background where my mum's family comes from Ireland and my dad's family comes from Pakistan. And I think just for like my own sort of knowledge, I was just kind of curious as to like how welcoming that sort of ethnicity would be received in Dumfries.
That one I can't tell you because until I moved to Newcastle in 1969, I'd never met a person of your background, African American, African, South Asian, totally unknown.
Wow.
I never went to school with somebody like that. I never met anybody anywhere.
At all in Dumfries?
Until 1969, I don't think I know I never saw anybody in Dumfries
Wow.
of an ethnicity that was different from mine.
Wow. Well, the only time would have been probably either when you went to the Chinese or when you moved to...
Well, the Chinese certainly were different ethnicity, but they were just a small,
Yeah.
they came for a reason to open a restaurant.
Yeah.
There were Italians, as I say, who'd been prisoners of war and stayed. And although there were some Polish families, again, they'd come during the war, the free Poles liked it, stayed. But on the diversity that you're talking about was not there.
Wow.
The fact it is now seems to be a reasonable indicator that there is a place in the Dumfries heart for change.
So I've just had my chat with Fred on Zoom. It was great, lovely guy, and full of amazing stories. And he really painted such a vivid picture for me of what Dumfries was like in the 1960s. Talking about how the first Chinese came to go some takeaway and how it was just above the mid steeple, and how it was greatly accepted on a generic and general sense, and people loved it, and it instantly became just a part of the community. It just became the Chinese, which I found really quite nice. And he painted such a amazing sense of community in Dumfries, which I have to agree with. He used a nice little phrase, it's like a big village and you know people, and I couldn't agree more with that. Dumfries, to me and to Fred, as we agreed on, is such a lovely place where you can really get to know someone and get to know your neighbours, unlike places like, if you were to live in big cities like Glasgow, Edinburgh, London, Manchester. It's such a welcoming place, very accepting of anyone who wants to come in and be part of the community, and you've always got somebody there to lean on if you need it. One thing though that did sort of, I guess, surprise me through the chat was the lack of diversity in Dumfries in the 1960s. It wasn't until Fred had moved to Newcastle in 1969 when he was 20 that he had ever had his first interaction with a black Asian or mixed race or somebody of a different ethnic origin than himself, which is something that I find quite surprising, and sort of question why there was a lack of diversity in culture in Dumfries at that time, whether it was just the way it was or whether it was because it was a different town back then and people were hesitant to move in, or Dumfries wasn't as big as what it might be now. A lot of questions there that I sort of ask myself and wonder if I'd be comfortable or I'd be accepted living there. From the chat I get the sense that I feel like Dumfries was a very accepting and loving town, and they would happily accept any ethnic minorities and different cultures coming in. And I think to some extent that is what has shaped Dumfries to what it is now, because if you look at Dumfries now, it is such a widespread of culture and diversity, and I think that almost makes it such a loving place that because everyone's sort of got a place, everyone sort of fits in. So I feel like if I were living there at that time, I would get on fine and I would be quite accepted. But yeah, I think I really enjoyed that, and I think I've gathered quite a big knowledge of what Dumfries was like. If anybody would like to watch the full interview with me and Fred, it will be on the YouTube channel under Dumfries TV. Also, if you have any comments, if you'd like to engage, if you have any thoughts or any things you'd like to say about Dumfries and what it was like in the 1960, please feel free to go on the Facebook page, Dumfries TV, and leave a message or a comment. I'll see you guys next week.
Coming up, it's yesterday. We've got a bit of a character for you, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. She's a bit of a hero of ours, and she's also a bit of a hero of everyone else's. She's Edna Wells in this week's episode of Yesterday.
So tell us what it was like. You would get ready in the morning, get your daughter in the pram, and off you went up the town. What was the town like in the 1950s?
The town was quite busy. Everybody was shopping, and it was easy to shop then, as it is now. There was a shop at the top of King Street, Two Sisters, and that's where I got a lot of my clothes.
So Edna, were there any famous Dumfries characters?
Hanley, Mr. Hanley.
And where would he be?
And all the rest of his brothers and sisters were all there, and it was a good night when he was there.
Any other memorable Dumfries characters? The other day you were talking about Dick, famous for good neighbours. So he stayed on Balmoral Road.
Yes, and he was in the Navy, and his name was Mr. Watson.
And was there any other heartthrobs in the town? Any famous folk?
No, I wouldn't say famous folk.
Well, one that everybody loved.
Me.
Well, I didn't ken about you, but it just sounded like it was quite good crack back in the 50s. So you've heard all the stories, and now it's time to try the dancing. Are you dancing? Are you asking? It's Zoe Gadd and our special guest this week doing dances for the 1950s.
Welcome to the Dance Diaries for Dumfries TV. My name is Zoe Lee, and this is the Lyricade. And together we invite you for a trip down memory lane through social dance crazes over the years.
Let's go back to the 1950s, where rock and roll took the world by storm. Bill Haley and the Comets' Rock Around the Clock became an anthem for the rebellious teenagers heading down to the plazas to shake some moves. Hips were twisting and feet were kicking as teenagers grabbed their partners to show off acrobatic rock and roll, jiving into the night on dance floors around the globe. The 50s sure marked a period of rebellion and socialisation. With the rise of the civil rights movement across the Atlantic, teenagers were not afraid to make their mark and make some noise. Many moves took inspiration from animals, such as the chicken and the bunny hop, which went a little something like this. Animalistic moves drew inspiration from African American culture as prejudices between races began to ease on the dance floor. Here are some moves you can try at home. Ready? The hand jive. The mashed potato and the twist. And finally, the partnered bunny hop. We hope you've enjoyed shaking some moves with us from the 1950s, and we'll see you next time on the Dance Diaries.
You're watching Dumfries TV, and now it's time for Grubtoon. Our very special character, Jock the Sock, has a favourite dish, but Diane, his chef pal, keeps trying to get him to think outside the box. She's like, you can't keep eating chips, man. It's Grubtoon.
What you get to be cooking the day, Chef D? I hope it's chips.
Well, Jock, today's programme is all about what type of food folk in the town were eating in 1958.
1958. My great uncle Jock was a very important sock. He was worn by Queen's Big Jim and could really knock him in. He scored 251 goals and the net was full of holes. Same as me, he liked his chips, but if he ate too many, he couldn't fit in his strip. He was only allowed them as a special treat and had to stick to veggies and meat. He usually had tatties and a nice bit of chicken, and when it was cooking, his lips he was licking.
Jock, what are you thinking about?
Chips.
Well, stop thinking about chips and start thinking about what we're going to cook today. I think we should take a wee trip into the town and go to the farmer's market. We might get some good ideas for something nice to cook for our dinner.
Will they have chips there?
Oh, Jock. You ready for this, Jock? Let's go and speak to some people and see what folk like to eat for their dinner in 1958.
You think they'll have chips?
I hope no, Jock. I hope no.
So what do you sell?
I sell venison. Do you know which animal that meat comes from?
I don't, but I heard it's a little deer.
It is, it's of deer, so it's a very natural, healthy, local food to eat. Venison is the meat of kings.
Ooh, I'm not a king, can I still have some?
Anybody can eat venison. In fact, I've got 3 children and they love venison.
Can you make it into stuff?
You can make it into sausages. Do you like sausages?
I love sausages.
That's
I love
good.
sausages and chips.
Right, and a fried egg?
Only on a Sunday.
Well, you can have venison on a Sunday. You can have roast venison with your family.
Oh, a Sunday roast.
Yes, or you can have it in a stew.
A stew. I think we could make a stew today.
What will you put in your stew?
That's why we're here, actually.
Deer is something that has been eaten for many, many years. So in 1958, it would have been enjoyed as a very versatile, healthy, wild meat. Would you like these?
Oh, yes, please.
There you go, enjoy. It's a very healthy local meat.
Hello, Jock. Come on in. Now that you've brought the sausages, we've got all of the ingredients ready. We have got some plain flour, some suet, and some corn flour. And we have carrots and the lovely venison sausages that we got from the farmer's market, some sweet potatoes and some onions. And we have some lovely fresh mushrooms.
Why was the mushroom invited to the party?
I don't know, Jock. Why was the mushroom invited to the party?
Because it's a fun guy.
Oh, Jock. We also have our seasoning because they didn't use an awful lot of seasoning back in 1958. In here we've got some salt, some black pepper and some oil for cooking. So, Jock, that's all the ingredients ready now.
Is that it ready to eat now?
No, Jock. We've got to cook it first.
Ah!
Grubs up, Jock!
Oh, I can't wait, I'm arriving.
What would you like to try first?
Wee bit of everything, please.
No bother. Well, Jock, what do you think of that?
Beats chips like.
Have you had a good day learning about what kind of food the folk in Dumfries would have eaten in 1958?
Yeah, it was great. And the farmer's market was fun, even if I didn't get chips.
Oh, never mind, Jock. It's time to go now. So, bye-bye, everyone. Come on, say goodbye, Jock.
Goodbye, Jock.
No, say goodbye to everyone watching.
Oh, why? Bye-bye, everyone. See you next time.
Next week, we'll be learning all about food in 1978. And we might have another trip into the tin.
1978. I wonder if they had chips in 1978.
Oh, Jock.
You're watching Dumfries TV. Coming up next, Jordan gets a wee bit annoyed because folk always keep telling her that Dumfries isn't any good. I mean, like, Jordan, Dumfries is well good. It's good or nae good. Good or nae good? That's the question that's on my mind. All the time I'm thinking, what's going on? And I'm thinking, is it good or nae good?
Hello everybody, welcome to Good or Nae Good. I'm Just Wondering Jordan, and today I'm taking you way back to when your granny and granddad were wee. 1958. Whoa, can you imagine? In 1958, Dumfries was really different. Someone told me it wasn't even called Dumfries. It was called Dumfriesshire. There was all sorts of stuff to be getting up to in 1958. There was lots of time back then, you see. Climbing high stone walls, jumping over onto railway lines, stomping out grass fires caused by steam engines, and sometimes we even put pennies on the rail so that the train squashed them flat. It was all about thrill-seeking back then, but that might have had something to do with the war having no long passed. It was well good fun. Did you know that there was a road right up the high street? Dumfries town centre was buzzing with cars and shops and people. See, in 1958, we didn't have watches or mobiles to tell the time. So when we were out, we were out until our tummies rumbled. Unless we went to one of the many cafes in town and had a wee dance to whatever the jukebox was playing. Cream soda gave us all the energy we needed. Ken, the summers were always warm. You could swim in the nith when it was hot and play rounders with all your pals in the green grass. Butcher vans would come to give us our meat and coal would be delivered to our door to keep us warm through the winter. Oh, and there was this guy called the Rag and Bone Man who used to come round the streets in a horse and cart. If you gave him some scraps, and he would sometimes give you a sweet. Gosh, it seems like 1958 was so much fun. I'm just wondering, what happened? Like now, we've got supermarkets, so there's no need for the vans to come round, and we're told no to take sweets for strangers. I've never seen a horse and cart around here. Have you? My phone tells me the time, and we have radiators for winter and the summer because it's always raining now. Aye, all these changes from 1958 to now. It's got me wondering, are they good or nae good? I look forward to chatting to you all again next week and telling you a little bit more about the place we call home.
Coming up next is the music show. Graham Main's going to be presenting 5 top tracks of 1958, and at the end of the show you guys can vote for your favourite track on our Facebook channel. It's the music show. Welcome to the music show. My name's Graham Main. I'm one of the music bookers for the Brigburn Supper Festival here in Dumfries, and it's my job to pick the acts that go into the Spiegel tent. We've programmed some incredible work over the years. I'm really passionate about music. I started Dumfries Community Choir, which runs here in Dumfries, and it gets people singing and gets people being really enthusiastic about their passion for music. Over the next 6 weeks, I'm going to be setting you a bit of a challenge. I'm going to find 5 contrasting songs each week, and I would like you to pick the best track that I put forward. Now, I'm not going to make this easy for us because I could quite simply just pick my favourite 5 tracks. What I've tried to do is to try and think of 5 contrasting tracks that help us understand what life was like in Dumfries in 1958, and I'm going to try and imagine what people were doing, what people were listening to, and how that maybe reflected the times that they were in. Well, what were people doing? 1958, the Plaza Ballroom was really big. The jungle on the other side of town was quite big. People went and they danced. But of course, we have this kind of tension because we're a farming community and this was a market town. And back in those days, actually, we're still really an agricultural and rural economy where people would be just as interested in the Scottish country dancing and the trad movement. And sometimes when they went to halls, they might be going to the halls to appreciate that music, but actually moreover was this growth in what we describe as rock and roll. Rock and roll is effectively an amalgamation of black rhythm and blues with white country music, and it's usually sort of characterised by a guitar, a bass, double bass, and a drums. It has those 3 components with a voice over it, and then you can change that, and obviously you can replace the guitar with a piano, but it still always have this kind of walking moving bass line that characterises that. And I just imagine how amazing that must have been to have sort of noticed that music changing and exactly what young people were doing. So I also noticed in the 1950s that there was a tendency to tell a story through a song, and this became quite popular and as a way for us to sort of tell people about our life. It sort of went like this, you know. I was at the drive-in and she was on the other side. I was like, can I buy some popcorn? And she's like, well, okay. You met her, how? And it goes, whoa, 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 whoa. Keep away from, and of course you can use that chord structure for just about anything that you want to sing in the 50s. So the first artist that I've picked is a bit of a curveball actually, because you might associate these guys more with the 60s, but I decided to throw this one in to use a curveball because I think it reflects the amateur, the sense of people practicing in their garages, people taking those really simple chord structures and making it their own. I get this idea that people really started to participate in popular culture and they started to sort of learn to do themselves. So the first track for your consideration is The Quarrymen.
And 6. So
I'm sure you'll agree that's a really, really strong contender. So, track number 2. I got thinking about the music I've been listening to, and it strikes me that not all the music or the songs or singing really sound that authentic. Whether that's a reflection on the sort of popularisation of it and the way that it's been created, because it is being commodified. Teenagers are buying this music and it's got a certain tone, but it just strikes me that sometimes people aren't really singing from the heart. Not so much that we would know in the 90s, the Nirvanas or the punk movement in the 70s. It just sounds like they're using someone else's voice. And to describe this, actually, this artist is 15, he's from Edinburgh, and it also possibly explains that fusion of Scotland versus rock and roll.
I'm glad, so glad, so glad you are here. I'm so lucky to be, and no one else with me is true. Got me, got you, la-di-da, oh boy, let's go, cha-cha-cha. I feel so fine, now that you are mine. Not a tingle, up and down my spine is true. Got me, got you, la-di-da, oh boy, let's go, cha-cha-cha. You're my precious angel, my people baby, my little dear pretty face. You tell me with your love, this is mine, and just fun, baby, to be my silhouette.
So what about women in music in the 1950s? Well, track 3 is one of the biggest hits of 1958, and it's got such a sumptuous bass line, and it really does just demonstrate how that rhythm and blues structure lends itself really well, that kind of dum-ch, dum-ch, dum-ch. It's Peggy Lee.
Never know how much I love you. Never know how much I care. When you put your arms around me, I get a fever that's so hard to bear. You give me fever when you kiss me, fever when you hold me tight, fever in the morning, fever all through the night.
Just quite something. So, from Peggy Lee to my very special guest this week, every week on the music show I'll be inviting a local artist to tell me not only what their favourite song of 1958 or the year was, but actually to sing it. So please, will you welcome to the show, Loka.
Hi there, welcome to Dumfries TV. I'm Angie from the vocal group Loka. We're focusing today on the year 1958. So many things were very different back then. For example, there was no internet, no mobile phones, no tablets or iPads. In fact, not many folk even had a television. And even if they did, it was probably black and white. But everyone still loved music. They listened to their favourite songs on the radio, or they bought singles, records, which they played usually at home on their record players. Today, Loka are going to sing our a cappella version of the top-selling single from the year 1958. It's by the Everly Brothers, and it's called All I Have to Do Is Dream.
Dream, 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 when I want you, in my arms when I want you, and all your charms whenever I want you, all I have to do is dream, 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 when I feel blue in the night and I need you to hold me tight whenever I want you, all I have to do is dream. I can make you mine, taste your lips of wine, anytime, night or day. The only trouble is, gee whiz, I'm dreaming my life away. I need you so that I could die. I love you so, and that is why whenever I want you, all I have to do is dream, 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 dream. so that I could die. I love you so, and that is why whenever I want you, all I have to do is dream, 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 dream.
That was quite amazing. Thank you very much to Loka, my special guest this week, for that version of the Everly Brothers track. My fourth track really is about the dance halls, about the plaza and imagining what people were dancing to at that time. And this character actually was attributed for the skiffle movement and some of his early work. He actually turns out in becoming quite commercial. Well, why wouldn't you if you can make money off it? And this is a massive track for the year, and one that I am just sure that people were dancing to. So come on.
Come on, let's go, let's go, let's go, little darling. Tell me that you never leave me. Come on, let's go. Again, 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 again. Well, now swing me all the way down there. Come on, let's go, little darling. Let's go again once more. Well, I love you so, yeah, and I'll never let you go. Come on, baby, so oh, pretty baby, oh, I love you so. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
So I'm nearly at my last track, and for this one actually, I'm going to just leave you all with something that we can dance to, because above all, I think I approached 1958 thinking it was all about those rich harmonies, but actually something much more powerful was happening. This invitation just to dance, this kind of have a look at this next video here. It's just incredible. It's Chuck Berry at Sweet 16, and just imagine 1958 up the plaza in Dumfries and just what you'd have felt. And I think that's to me what 1958 was all about. Good luck voting. I'll tell you who won next week at the same time. See you next week.
They're really rocking in Boston and Pittsburgh, PA, deep in the heart of Texas and round the Frisco Bay, all over St. Louis and down in New Orleans. All the cats wanna dance with sweet little 16, sweet little 16. She just got to have about $500,000. Famed autograph, her wallet filled with pictures. She gets them one by one, becomes so excited. Watch her look at her run, boy.
Well, I don't know kind about you. I quite fancy myself at some of them tracks. I think I might take myself to the dancing, but I just didn't feel like I'm dressed well enough. Just as well, because coming up now, it's Katie and Jordan and their show Fashion Through the Eras.
Hello and welcome to the Meerkat's very first special edition of
Fashion Through the Eras with Katie and Co.
This is Katie.
This is Co.
And today we are taking you on a backward journey all the way to 1958.
To understand the clothing of this era, one must understand what was really going on at the time and how it affected everyone's way of life.
And subsequently, how they expressed themselves through dress. Did you know that some didn't see the back of rationing in one way or another until 1958?
Even although the 50s was a colourful and vibrant era, it was really a time for hard work.
And for the country to get back to stability.
There was a real euphoria in the air from winning the war And by 1958, there was a huge rise of women going back to work every day.
Oh yes, Katie. I think it's time.
I think it is.
So, as we can see, Katie is wearing a full outfit from Circle Vintage, which can be found at 15 Nith Place, Dumfries, DG1 2PL. One cannot express enough how important accessories were during 1958. A woman quite simply didn't leave the house without her handbag, did she, Katie?
No, that's right, Cole, she didn't. And it's also very important to remember that these things had to match. Shoes in the handbag, for example.
Yes, and I see that you're wearing a very bold coloured scarf.
It's beautiful, isn't it? And it also matches my sunglasses.
And is there anything else that we can do with this outfit, Katie?
Well, the scarf in itself, you can do more than just wrap around your neck. You could also wear it over your head to keep your rollers in, or when you're out driving in your convertible. The rest of the outfit, well, you can take this pinny off when you're not in the kitchen, throw caution to the wind and go out dancing.
Oh wow, that has been absolutely brilliant. Thank you all for joining the Meerkat's very first edition of
Fashion Through the Ears with Katie and Co.
She's been Katie.
And she's been Co.
See you next week for lots more fun.
Bye.
I tell you, 58, whew, what a year. Next week for episode 2, we're going to go to the land of 1978. Now, I'm going to need your help. And I know what you're thinking. Tam, I wasn't born in 78. Aye, but your ma was, or your granny. And I'm relying on you to go and have a wee conversation with you. I want to find out who the characters were, where the places to go was, or what the tales of the Dumfries town high street were. So if you can email those ideas to this email address below, that'd be great. Because I'll tell you, 78 is going to be a wild ride.
You've been watching Dumfries TV. Huge thanks to everybody who's made contributions to this week's episodes. Remember what Tourist Tam says. There's plenty of time for you to give us all your stories. To just email us dumfriestv@gmail.com. And if you haven't got a story, then just make it up. Send us a picture, send us some songs. Next week we're going to be fast tracking 20 years to 1978. What do we think will have changed in Dumfries? How will the high street look a wee bit different? Well, you're just going to have to tune in and find out. See you all next week on Dumfries TV.